and other posts. The response of lawmakers in this report from Ria Fernandez.
House lawmakers had a word war under the previous leadership of Taguig Pateros Representative Alan Peter Cayetano. This rooted from claims that the infrastructure budget for 2021 was not equally distributed among cities and provinces. Valenzuela Representative Eric Martinez believes that this caused the shift of support to newly minted Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. But as far as the Appropriations Committee is concerned, Chairperson Eric Yap said Velasco has not issued a directive yet to amend the allocations.
Because we don't have the hand on the budget, it's just the agency who can initiate it.
Yap, who is close to Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte, also said the presidential son is unlikely to tinker on their internal budget. Duterte is the new chairperson of the Committee on Accounts, replacing Cavite Representative Bambol Tolentino.
Ayaw lang niya ma-import sa budget ng Pilipinas dahil siyempre presidente yung father niya, so ayaw niya mahaluan po ng politika.
According to Yap, they are now focused on passing the proposed 4.5 trillion peso national budget by Friday. As for the House posts, Martinez said the new leadership will only implement minor changes to finish the budget deliberations. Aside from Congressman Duterte, Quezon Representative Helen Tan, another ally of Velasco, has been reinstated as Health Committee chairperson. Tan, along with Martinez, was among the casualties of the speakership row that hounded the lower chamber for weeks.
I think by your own naman, and by your own, di ba? We have sense of yung ating pananaw sa sarili natin. Abay, ayaw ko naman pala talaga sa kanya.
Meanwhile, Albay Representative Edsa Lagman, in an interview on One News The Chiefs, advised allies of Cayetano to voluntarily step down.
The new speaker can be given a free hand and not to be surrounded by the leaders or major players of the previous leadership.
But Cayetano insisted that there should be no changes in committee chairmanship as agreed upon with Velasco during one of their meetings.
Now, some of your people na gustong benga, talking to some of our people na magpalit na lang, umalis na lang, pati kwarto kinukuha. Let's not do that.
For News 5, Ria Fernandez, we are One News.
Commuters are divided when it comes to the new one-seat-apart rule in PUVs. Greg Gregorio shares with us their sentiments in this report.
The one-seat-apart rule among passengers in public utility vehicles has received both negative and positive remarks from the public. Some commuters say that a new policy means less waiting time for them.
Hindi naman, para minsan kasi haba ng pila eh.
Mas mabilis ang biyahe. Nakakatulong po para sa aming mga empleyado.
Ay, pabor ako doon sir, para marami, mabilis maubos. Kahit sa gabi kasi matagal maubos pag kunti lang ang sakay eh.
Malacanang on Tuesday announced that the president has approved the new physical distancing guidelines in public transportation. That's despite previous opposition from health experts, as well as Health Secretary Francisco Duque III and Interior Secretary Eduardo Año. Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade ordered the immediate implementation of this rule. Part of it is the increased passenger capacity of railway systems from the current 30% to 50%. Passenger capacity of jeepneys will also be increased.
Pinayagan na natin yung one-seat-apart rule, pero if they think na hindi pa rin sapat yung kinikita nila o mas gusto pa nilang damihan yung kanilang mga pasahero, kinakailangan nilang mag-install ng plastic barriers.
Some jeepney drivers like Cesar have already been using plastic barriers between 6 passengers on each side of his jeepney. But with the approval of DOTR, Cesar is now going to adjust the spaces to accommodate more people.
Pwede namin iusot-usot konti para maging 7. Pwede naman daw na magdagdag ng pasahero. 2 pasahero bawat biyahe. Malaking bagay na yun.
Buses will also start allowing standing passengers.
Loob ng 2x2 na bus ay pinapatupad natin na talaga yung one-seat-apart rule ever since eh. Nadagdagan lang natin yan ng standing passenger in between the rows para madagdagan yung mga pasahero nila. Yung sa 3x3 naman na buses, ganun din.
But this proposal doesn't sit well with some bus commuters.
Mas maganda distancing pa rin.
Tingin nyo hindi po safe yung one seat apart?
Hindi pa rin safe yun. Kasi pag umupo isang tao, ganun pa rin, kakalat pa rin. Kailangan pa may distancing pa rin.
Hindi muna siguro. Kasi ano pa GCQ pa, nakakatakot pa, delikado pa.
Ang tanong, pag-aralan nyo munang maigi. Kasi unang-unang dudumugin tayo like Christmas. Lalabas ang tao dyan.
In an interview with One News's Agenda, Dr. Guido David of UP Octa Research Team said, "We've been unofficially doing the one-seat apart rule for quite some time already." However, he expressed reservation if this will be further eased.
If we further reduce social distancing, kunyari, hindi na one seat apart, tabi-tabi na, then definitely it will be a bit more concerning because we will start to have overcrowding, and overcrowding is one of the causes of community transmissions.
The DOTR clarifies that the one-seat apart rule is still part of their 7 commandments in PUVs. For its part, the Health Department supports the new policy.
Ito na pag-usapan at hindi naman po mag-uusap-usap ang ating gobyerno na makakasama sa ating mga kababayan. Hindi po natin tinanggal na kailangan meron pa rin hong distance between and among passengers.
The DOTR is also allowing more taxis, flights, and sea travel for Roros. As for motorcycle taxis, it is now up to the Congress to heed the recommendation of the IATF to continue the pilot study. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
The UP Octa research team will still publicize its COVID-19 recommendations despite Malacanang's appeal for them not to do so. In an interview on One News's Agenda, Professor Guido David said he believes their granular snapshot of the pandemic is very useful to the IATF. David explained that Roque probably just did not want the public to be confused about possible quarantine measures. On Tuesday, Roque appealed to the team not to publicize its recommendations and to submit these privately to the government. His statement came after the UP Octa called for the reimposition of localized lockdowns in several areas.
I think there were some yung concerns lang yung sa recommendations of whether this LGU should go to a GCQ or ECQ or something. I think yun yung point lang ni spokesperson, that this might lead to some confusion.
As for the latest COVID-19 numbers, the Health Department reports nearly 2,000 new infections for today. That brings the country's case tally to over 346,000, some 46,000 of which are still considered active. The virus claimed the lives of 78 patients over the past 24 hours, pushing the nationwide death toll to almost 6,500. Some 293,000, meanwhile, have gotten better from the disease, with more than 500 new recoveries reported today. We'll have more stories after this quick break. Keep it here. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Senators grilled the Department of Public Works and Highways for hiring more foreigners despite the alarming unemployment rate among Filipinos. Mean Los Baños has the details.
The COVID-19 pandemic has left some 23.7 million Filipinos jobless. One of the sectors most badly hit is the construction industry. Citing the latest data on unemployment rate, Senator Kiko Pangilinan asked the Department of Public Works and Highways or DPWH if they're indeed prioritizing Filipino workers in the government's Build projects.
Given, again, the huge unemployment rate we are now facing because of COVID, is the employment of foreign workers a condition for the approval of these ODAs?
DPWH Secretary Mark Villar denied this, saying some of their projects call for the expertise of foreign workers.
They do come with new technologies, and they do require some specialization. And therefore, sometimes in some of our projects, some level of Chinese work, you see some level of foreign workers, not necessarily Chinese. We have projects with the Japanese, we have projects with the Korean, and they have special skills, special equipments.
The cabinet official then assured senators that in all of the government's infrastructure projects, majority of workers are still Filipinos. Villar explained the significant number of foreign workers in several infrastructure projects in Metro Manila. In Binondo Intramuros Bridge, for one, 45% of workers are Chinese nationals. Villar insisted that it's only because the machines being used require technical expertise. In Estrella Pantalon Bridge, meanwhile, 31% of workers are Chinese.
Mataas yung 45%, mataas yung 30%, 31%. No matter how you look at it, also have to change our way of dealing with these ODA contracts and pushing for and fighting for Filipino employment. Unahin natin yung ating mga kababayan.
The DPWH vowed to change this.
We have our assurance that we will will be even more aggressive in looking and making sure that our labor requirements are increased, especially for Filipino workers.
Also during the budget hearing, Senator Panfilo Lacson questioned the increase in number of local projects for next year, while funds for national projects for tourism have been reduced by 8 billion pesos. The lawmaker noticed that 67 billion pesos was allocated for multipurpose buildings, while 11 billion pesos was slashed from budget for the building of national roads and bridges. Villar insisted that the local structures could be used for social gatherings or may even serve as quarantine facilities.
Sa akin lang kasi bound tayo by a common theme as expressed during the yung general principles budget briefing. Reset, rebound, and recover.
The DPWH told senators that national projects are still a priority. They just have to balance this with local projects as dictated by the needs of different communities, especially in the countryside. The department and its attached offices are proposing a 667 billion peso war chest for 2021. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Political detainee Reyna May Nasino has been allowed to visit her dead baby for the first time since they were separated. Nasino arrived at the funeral home in handcuffs and in full PPE gear. The court initially granted Nasino a 3-day furlough to attend the wake of her baby River, but this was reduced to just 6 hours. Activist Nasino was pregnant at the time of her arrest, and she was separated from her child a month after giving birth. Baby River was just 3 months old when she succumbed to bacterial infection. Residents in some parts of Quezon City are preparing for evacuation as continuous rains threaten to flood the metro. To give us details, Camille Samonte joins us live from Quezon City. Camille, how will quarantine protocols now be observed inside these evacuation centers?
Charles, some residents in Barangay Rojas, Quezon City are now preparing to evacuate for possible floods due to Tropical Depression Ophel. Maricel, a resident, said their house was submerged in the flood last Monday because of the non-stop heavy rains. She has not even finished cleaning up mud off her clothes, but now she has to prepare for another possible flood. Maricel's belongings are all tied to a tree. Manong Virgilio, meanwhile, said he will rely on his styrofoam raft in case of flood. Residents in the barangay admitted that it is different this time, especially that they are also dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. The local government of Quezon City assures the public that the evacuation center will be separated from the quarantine facility. Modular tents will be put up for each family to see to it that physical distancing is observed. Families will also be prohibited from going outside the tents until they are allowed to go home. The use of face masks and face shield will also be required. Charles Pag-asa says many parts of the country will experience more rain as La Nina brings cooler weather in the last 2 months of the year. The Weather Bureau encourages the LGU to clean up drainage and waterways to prevent flooding in low-lying areas. Charles?
Thanks, Camille. That was Camille Samonte reporting live from Quezon City. Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta joins the Environment Department in inspecting the Manila Bay. Peralta commended the cleanliness of the area but declined to comment on the controversial dumping of dolomite sand. The official said his visit aimed to check on the progress of the rehabilitation under a mandamus order issued by the High Court. Meanwhile, DENR spokesperson Benny Antiporda maintained that the artificial white sand has not been washed out. Antiporda explained that it was washed in, rather, because the black sand coming from the sea has been covering the dolomite. PBA is opening their games to virtual fans starting October 15. This virtual participation was supposed to be launched on a later day, but the PBA says they're giving in to the clamor of their fans. Links will be posted on the PBA Facebook and YouTube accounts. Fans will be selected on a first-come, first-served basis. Our favorite basketball league has returned. Catch the PBA Bubble Games live on TV5 every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and on One Sports and PBA Rush daily. Games are also seen live via Facebook and YouTube live stream, Radio 5 and Signal Play. For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. And you can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.